Hi there and welcome. It's always a pleasure to share intriguing stories and tidbits from history with you. Whether you're here for a history lesson, a linguistic curiosity, or simply to spend a few minutes learning something new, you're in the right place. Let's have a look. Hi there and welcome to This Day in History for November 27th. November 27th is the 331st day of the year in the Gregorian calendar, 332nd in leap years, with 34 days remaining to the end of the year. Today's word is obligatory. Obligatory is an adjective that means required by a legal, moral, or other rule. Compulsory, as in seatbelt use, is obligatory. Mandatory or required, as in obligatory military service. And as with so many words in the English language, the word obligatory has made its way through Anglo-French, originally from Latin, where it meant something along the line of to tie up, to restrain by tying, or to place under legal constraint. First known use of the word obligatory was in the 1400s. Obligatory. And with that, Alfred Nobel was a Swedish chemist, engineer, inventor, businessman, and philanthropist, probably best known for inventing dynamite and having bequeathed his fortune to establish the Nobel Prize. Mr. Nobel had 355 patents in his lifetime. His most famous invention, of course, was dynamite, an explosive using nitroglycerin, which was patented in 1867. Mr. Nobel signed his last will and testament establishing the Nobel Prizes on November 27, 1895. These prizes are awarded annually in various fields such as physics, chemistry, and literature. He lived on a little over a year longer after setting this up. Alfred Nobel. November 27th fell on a Thursday in 1924, and it happened to be Thanksgiving Day. Macy's employees dressed up in colorful costumes and marched to the store on 34th Street. There were floats, bands, and they even borrowed some animals from the Central Park Zoo. When it was all done, Santa was there, crowned as the King of the Kiddies. The event was deemed so successful that Macy's declared it would become an annual event, and so it has been ever since. This is the birthday of Johnny Allen Hendrix, but we know him as Jimi Hendrix, born November 27, 1942. He got his first guitar when he was 15, and it wasn't long before he formed a band. He'd been playing for a while, made some records when he really became known after his performances at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967 and the Woodstock Festival in 1969. Inspired by rock and roll and electric blues, he really used feedback and distortion in some interesting ways. Sadly, he passed away at the age of 27, most likely from aspirating after an accidental overdose, earning him a place in a group known as the 27 Club, which is a name given to a group of celebrities who died at the age of 27, usually due to some factor related to their high-risk lifestyles. Jimi Hendrix. On November 27, 1965, the Pentagon informed President Lyndon Johnson that if planned operations were to succeed, the number of troops in Vietnam would have to be increased from 120,000 to 400,000. Wow, about 3 times more soldiers. Jimi Hendrix Experience's first single release was Hey Joe, written in the 1950s by Billy Roberts. It's been recorded by several people since it was written, and Jimi Hendrix Experience did a good job with it. The song has done well, but it wasn't really what Jimi wanted to put out there, saying, that record isn't us, the next one's going to be different. We're working on an LP which will be mainly our stuff. And indeed, the next single released was Purple Haze. He had an amazing and vivid imagination, Jimi Hendrix did, and wrote some of his ideas into songs. They might have been quite a bit longer as originally written, but you had to keep songs to a certain length in order to get play on the radio. He gave several explanations as to what that song meant. People always want to know, what does it mean? One of the explanations was that the song's protagonist was in such a state over a girl, he didn't know what state he was in. Purple Haze was recorded in January of 1967 and released in March of that year. Purple Haze by the Jimi Hendrix Experience. Link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. And I think that's going to do it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Feel free to share this video with a link in your email, messaging, or social media. If you enjoy this series, you can check out the playlist that contains these videos. I'll put a link to that in the description. That playlist lives on YouTube, so for other platforms, I'll include a link to my blog page. It's called No Really. You can also find me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey. All those links in that description. Alrighty, that's all I can think of right now. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.